So I think it's probably smart to start the pass optimal and GPP win lineups talking about the salaries. I've thought about this, you know, and I just jump right into the latest date, or the tournament that it goes all the way back that I have salaries for. So that'd be like 2017, I think. Yeah, 2017. I think it's probably worthwhile talking about the salaries first. So you can see 13,000, and by the way, I say this because I want you to pay attention when we look at the years where there were staggered starts, which is I think 2019 and forward. So does it matter, you know, can these golfers at the top provide value based off of their price tag? Can you win a GPP playing one of these guys, or could you hit the optimal lineup? Those are very important pieces of information, or those are very important questions we need to answer, because if not, then we just rule them out. And we probably have to think about certain scenarios that allow these golfers to be in the optimal lineup, or even in the GPP winning lineup. So as we go through this, I just want you to realize we have 13,000, or like 12.5, let's say 11.6 up to 13.4. 11.6 isn't too uncommon, but 12.5 up to 13 is. So, but you know, 11.6, though we have seen it before, it's very expensive when trying to build a lineup. Now, on the flip side of that, we do have these $5,000 golfers down here. And that's worthwhile mentioning, because let's see how often they show up in the optimal lineup or the GPP winning lineup, or even inside the top 10. Because if they're inside the top 10, it gives us more confidence to want to play one of those golfers. So either way, pay attention to those things as we go through, because when I start here in 2017, we don't have a staggered start. This was all, everyone just started at even and then went from there. So you can see very cheap price tags. You know, a lot of these golfers were, I mean, it's your top 30 for that season. So we left a lot of money on the table. And, you know, I don't even know if it's worth mentioning these past years, because we don't have a staggered start. But let me just go through them quickly. So we have Brooks, 81, Justin Thomas at 99, Paul Casey at 86, and then 3 6K golfers that made up your optimal lineup. But you could dump one of those 6K golfers for, actually you couldn't. Ooh, that one's just off. It's kind of funny. We could do something like this. So this lineup here has Jordan Spieth at 11,600. If you did that, you went 11, 9, 8, and then 3 6K golfers. That's pretty hard to do. Now, I usually advocate for a 10K, 9K, 8K, 7K, 7K, 6K start. So if I were to repeat that in a shorter version, start with a 10K golfer, then a 9, 8, 7, 7, 6. That's usually how I phrase it. And then you can make up to 2 substitutions. So you obviously can get that with this lineup. And I might as well just mark it green, because this is a more realistic lineup. This equals 49,700, and it follows that sweet spot process of salary construction. In 2018, again, we don't have that staggered start. So it's just more of a common tournament, a common salary build, I guess. So the optimal here had Tiger Woods at 9,500, Billy Horschel at 73, Hideki at 88, Webb Simpson at 75, Ricky Fowler at 91, and Xander Schauffele at 7,000. So another way to word that is we actually have 2 9K golfers, 1 8K, and 3 7s. Now that still follows the 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6 with 2 substitutions. We sub one of our 10s down to another 9. So now we have two 9s. And you can see we have our 8 and our 2 7s, but actually we have 3 7s. You sub our 6 up to a 7, and that's how you get the 2 substitutions. There's another way to build. You could go Dustin Johnson 11,000, Tiger at 9, Billy Horschel at 7, Webb at 7, Xander at 7, and Casey at 6. No 8K golfers. We sub our 8 down two times to a 6K, and there you have a secondary lineup build that probably could take down a GPP. But 2017 and 2018 we probably ignore. We get to 2019. We get to 2019. I'm just wondering, did I hit the right? I had to have. I'll double check it after the show. 2019 is where we actually start a staggered start. And I wonder, do I have a DK page that shows that? Yeah. So we have their starting score, their playing score, and then their total score. So yeah, we had our staggered start in 2019. This is where it starts. So it's worth paying attention to the price tags. This is kind of crazy because I think DK has figured it out. So if I were to sort salaries top to bottom, Justin Thomas was at 15,500, and then it just dropped into the 12s. So it's a little bit different, but it's still kind of the same. Still kind of the same. If I take that filter off, because Justin finished third, and even if he was $13,000, I don't think he returns value. You couldn't play him if you were truly trying to hit the optimal lineup. So here we actually use 49,700 for our optimal lineup, and it starts with a Rory McIlroy at 10-6, Xander at 9, 2 8K golfers in Scott and Finau, a 7K golfer in Paul Casey, and then a $5,100 golfer in Ches Reavie. So we're already kind of unlocking that thought process. Do we want to play a 5K golfer? And so far it kind of looks that way. Once we get to 2020, our optimal lineup leaves a lot of money on the table. And that's primarily because here's the interesting thing. You see Dustin Johnson won this at 15,200. Now he was not in the optimal lineup, but he was in the GPP winning lineup. That's why he's colored blue. 15,500. He scores 107 DraftKings points. Xander Schauffele scored more than him. 111 points. He scored 4 more points than DJ. He didn't get those first place points. You know, on DraftKings, it's 30 points. If you get second, which Xander did, you get 20 points. So him and JT both got 20 points for finishing second place. So just think of that. If Xander would have won that tournament, he would have scored 10 more points. And DJ would have lost 10. DJ would have scored 97 points, and then Schauffele would have scored 121. So here, this optimal lineup started with Justin Thomas because he's not 15,200 like Dustin Johnson. 11,900, $8,900 Xander Schauffele, $7,900 Scotty Scheffler, 7,000 Tyrrell Hatton, 5,900 Sebastian Munoz, and 5,200 in Mackenzie Hughes. And you can see they're kind of all different on the leaderboard, but when you look at their points, how much they scored, Hughes and Munoz scored 80 some points. Scheffler scored 96, and the other two up here scored 100. When you look at the golfers around them and their price tags, those $5,000 golfers scored, you know, like Munoz scored 86.5 points. He was $5,900. He just scored 1.5 points less than Colin Morikawa. So he was a way better return on value for his price tag. So that's one way, like, just now we have 2 5K golfers in there. Just throwing that in there, or throwing that out there. So we started in 2019, we had 1 5K golfer, and now here in 2020, we have 2 5K golfers. Your GPP winning lineup, by the way, did use Dustin Johnson, Xander Schauffele, and Scotty Scheffler. Those 3, well, Scheffler and Schauffele were in the optimal lineup. DJ was not, but DJ at 15,200, you have to bring in a $5,900 Sebastian Munoz, a $5,200 Mackenzie Hughes, and a $6,100 Abraham Answer. So those were 3 really low price guys. And it's not even so much stars and scrubs. You're just taking the number 1 guy at 15,200, and then you add those 3 guys in, then you add a 79 and an 89. So it was not the optimal, by the way, was not the optimal. So far, the optimal has not seen anything greater than $11,900. Just throwing that out there. In 2021, our optimal lineup left $200 on the table. And again, it does not start with the first place guy who was $13,400, but it does start with the $13,000 John Rahm. And I can only imagine the reason why is that $200 difference. That's how these like, if you're just wondering, oh, does 13,400 really matter that much more than 13,000? Well, in 2021, yes, it did. So this is by far the most expensive that we've seen, that we've seen in a GPP winning lineup or even in an optimal lineup. $13,000. It had a $13,000 and an $11,000 golfer and an $8,900 golfer, which means it had to require these low price guys. So this is the second year in a row now that we've looked at this where it included 2 5Ks and a 6K. I think that's what it did in 2020, right? Yeah, 2 5s and a 6. So 2021, there we go, 2 5s and a 6. And a $13,000 golfer and an $11,000 and an $8,900 golfer. I was wondering how many times we've seen 89. Maybe 89's a magical number. It is not. It's not. So that's 2021. And that was also the GPP winner, by the way. So if you're wondering if you should be hunting the optimal lineup, yeah, you probably should, because that was the GPP winner in 2021. And then the final year in 2022, our optimal lineup started with $10,800 Rory McIlroy, $9,100 Sung Jae Im, $9,400 Justin Thomas, 75, 72, and 5 flat. So since the staggered start happened in 2019, we have seen a 5K golfer in every single optimal lineup. Every single, at least one. Obviously last year and the year before that, or I shouldn't say last year, in 2021 and 2020, we saw 2 5Ks and a 6 to go with one of the really, really expensive guys. I feel like those are probably your 2 lineup build choices. You start with a low 10K or even like an 11K. I think Rom at 11.6 or 11.4, whatever it is. You could go with him, a 9 and another 9, or a 9 and an 8, and then fill it in with some of those low price guys. You do it that way, or you start with a 13 and fill it in with, an 8, maybe a 7, and then 2 5s and a 6. Because that's kind of what we're seeing here. I mean, your GPP winning lineup was kind of that same thing. I mean, it was the same thing. You just sub out Max Homa and you put in Joaquin Niemann. And that was closer to using up $50,000. It just missed out on the optimal lineup, but 4.5 points. By 4.5 points. So here are my thoughts. If you do start, and I kind of already said this just shortly, a short while ago, 13,400 or even 13,000. If you're starting here, I think you can choose a max of 2 people in here to go along with 3 people down here, which is doable. We've seen it already. We've seen it twice. Or you do something like somewhere in here with 1 or 2 guys from here, 1 or 2 guys from here, and then 1 or 2 guys from here. I know that might be a little complicated, but just to throw it in like an idea, let's say we go with a $10,500 Xander Schauffele. We could pair him up with like a $9,500 Brian Harmon, a $9,100 Wyndham Clark. Let's make sure we get someone here down in the 5K range. Let's choose, how about just flat Nick Taylor? Why not? Let's use Nick Taylor, and how about Siwoo Kim? What do we have left? So we're at 41,300, meaning we could do, well, Colin Morikawa would work, but we could do, shoot, how about this? We'll put Russell Henley in there. So we can go 10, 2 9s, an 8, a 7, and a 5K. We could do something like that. It really depends on where you want to start building your lineups. Again, like let's look at some other things. So in 2019, when we had a staggered start, Rory won it starting at -5. If we want to see some of these other people, Ches Reavie was in the optimal lineup. He started at -1 at $5,100. We also have a -2 guy here that was $7,500. A few -3s, and we even had some evens kind of shoot up the leaderboard. So that was in 2019. 2020 starting score. So DJ started at -10. Yeah, okay. There's Xander at -3, Scotty at -2, Tyrrell Hatton at -2. So not a -1 or worse, inside the top 10, but -2 and -3, don't discount those golfers. 2021, what do we have? Starting score right here. So we have a -2 in Kevin Knott, 6,000. -2 for Xander at 89. -3. Oh, we have an even. Billy Horschel at $5,100. We also have another even that finished 11th place. He was in the optimal lineup at $5,800. So we have some evens, some -2s up there. I guess 2022. What do we have? Let's make sure we have everybody. Okay. So starting score, we have a -2 with Max Homa up here, a -1 Tom Hoagie. He was in the optimal lineup, and that was it for anyone inside the top 10. Aaron Wise, he started even. Just want to make sure that's correct. I thought we went over something different. Well, we did not. Okay. So yeah, 2022. So hey, if you want to start with someone who or if you want to play someone who started even, -1, -2, I think those are all viable options. Maybe not a lot of them. You know, these 5K golfers that are down here. Let's see by salary. If I sort from top to bottom. So these -1s, I think maybe are viable. Maybe you do want to start with an even guy, because I mean, you get Tyrrell Hatton and Jordan Spieth. Those are probably golfers worth playing. Same goes with, I mean, I think everyone that is at even par that's starting there, probably worthwhile to play. Some of these other guys at like -2 or even -1. Colin Morikawa, I wouldn't sleep on someone like him at -1. He's got the firepower. -3, -2. You know, it's really up to you guys where you want to start, but you know, looking at past, you know, don't choose 3 golfers -2 or worse, it looks like. Nope, that's not true. In 2021, we saw that. In 2020, we had 2 -2 golfers. And in 2019, inside the top 10, we had a -2 and a -1. So we had a couple -2s, actually. I'm sorry. There's another -2 right there. 3 would probably be the max, though. I wouldn't do 4. As I see it, you know, going through this, I don't think I'd do 4 that's at -2 or worse. There's a possibility that it could work out this year, but why take the risk? So anyways, that will conclude the pass optimal and GPP winning lineups. I think we have some good information as to where to start building our lineups just based off of salaries.